There was once a lady named Amara who wandered from village to village, her presence shrouded in the mystery. She was 25 years old, but her beauty seemed timeless, as if she had stepped out of a dream or a forgotten story. The most remarkable thing about her was her long flowing hair, which sparkled in the sunlight and glistened under the moon. It was said that no one had ever seen hair like hers, smooth as silk and long enough to touch the ground as she walked. Wherever Amara went, people were drawn to her, enchanted by her beauty, but there was something unsettling about her that no one could quite place. No one knew where Amara came from. She would arrive in a new village without warning, appearing as suddenly as the wind. The older woman whispered that she must have come from the deep forest or a far-off land where magic still lingered. But what they didn't know was that her hair wasn't ordinary. It wasn't grown from her own head like everyone else. Amara's hair had a strange, mystical origin. Whenever she greeted another woman, something strange will happen. Something that Amara herself didn't fully understand. It began with a simple greeting, a soft hello, or the touch of a hand. In that moment, the other woman's hair would begin to fade, like mist evaporating in the morning sun. It will disappear strands by strand, as though it was being absorbed by some invisible force. The woman will be left with a bare scalp, her hair completely gone, while Amara's hair would grow longer, fuller, and more beautiful than ever. She didn't mean to take it. In fact, she hated it, but it was a power she couldn't control. It was as if her body hungered for the beauty and essence of others, feeding on their hair and leaving them with nothing. Amara's first experience with this strange ability had terrified her. She had been just a child when it happened, greeting a girl her age with an innocent smile. The girl's hair had vanished before their eyes, and Amara's own hair had grown twice as long. The other children had run away in fear, and from that day on, Amara had learned to keep her distance from others. But now, at 25, the power still followed her like a shadow, and every village she visited was marked by a woman who no longer had your hair. One day, Amara arrived at a village nestled deep in the hills. The people there were welcoming, offering her food and a place to rest. Amara, as always, was polite but cautious, keeping her hands to herself and avoiding eye contact. But despite her best effort, she couldn't escape the curiosity of the villagers. There was a woman named Martha who had the most beautiful braids in the village, long and thick like ropes of golden thread. Martha had heard whispers about Amara's mysterious beauty and was eager to meet her. "You have the most incredible hair I've ever seen," Martha said when she approached Amara in the village square. "What's your secret?" Amara's heart sank. She didn't want to explain the truth, didn't want to reveal the curse she carried. But before she could move away, Martha reached out to touch her hair. The moment their hands brushed, it happened again. Martha's braids began to unveil, turning into thin whips of air that disappeared into the sky. Amara's hair grew longer, thicker, shimmering and golden hue of Martha's stolen braids. Martha gasped, her hands flying to her now bowed head. Amara turned and fled, her heart pounding in her chest. She didn't stop until she reached the forest at the edge of the village. There, she collapsed to the ground, burying her fist in her hands. "Why does this keep happening?" she cried out with an empty word. "Why can't I just be normal?" The truth was, Amara didn't know where her power came from. She had no memory of her parents or her childhood. Only flashes of faces and voices that disappeared whenever she tried to grasp them. All she knew was that this strange ability had been with her far as long as she could remember. And every time she took someone's hair, she felt a strange mix of emotions, regret, sadness, and a deep, unexplainable hunger. It was as if the hair carried something more than just beauty. It carried the essence of the person, their memories, their joy, their pain. And with each strand she absorbed, Amara felt herself becoming more and more lost. Days passed, and Amara wandered through the forest, avoiding people and their questions. She didn't want to hurt anyone else. But fate had other plans for her. One afternoon, as she sat by a quiet stream, combing her long hair with her fingers, she heard footsteps behind her. It was a young girl, no older than 8, with bright eyes and a curious smile. Her name was Nia, and she had been following Amara for days, fascinated by the woman with the long hair. "Why do you hide away here?" Nia asked, sitting down beside her. "Everyone in the village talks about you. They say you have magic." Amara stiffened, trying to keep her distance. "I don't have magic," she said quietly. "I have a curse." Nia frowned, not understanding. "A curse? But your hair is so beautiful. How can that be a curse?" Amara looked down at the girl, her heart heavy with the weight of her secret. "Because every time I greet someone, I take something from them. Their hair, their beauty, it becomes mine, and they are left with nothing." Nia started at her, wide-eyed. "But can't you give it back?" Amara shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. "I don't know how." For the first time, Amara felt the full weight of her burden. She had never considered that this might be a way to undo the damage she had caused. But the truth was, she didn't know if such a thing was even possible. She had spent so long running from her power, avoiding people, that she had never taken the time to understand it. But now, sitting beside this innocent child, Amara began to wonder if there was more to her gift than she realized. In the days that followed, Amara tried something new. Instead of running away, she returned to the village, determined to face the consequences of her power. She sought out Martha, the woman whose braids she had taken, and apologized for what had happened. Martha, still bowed but kind-hearted, forgave her, though the sadness in her eyes lingered. Amara spent hours talking to the villagers, trying to learn more about her power, hoping someone might have a solution. She met women who had lost their hair to her curse, and though they were gracious, each encounter filled her with guilt and a longing to make things right. But the more she absorbed their stories, their pain, the more she realized that the hair she took wasn't just a part of their beauty, it was a part of their soul. And perhaps, just as she had taken it, she could learn to give it back. One night, under the light of the full moon, Amara stood in the middle of the village square, her hair flowing like a river around her. She closed her eyes, focusing on the memories and emotions of the woman whose hair she had taken. Slowly, she began to whisper their names, calling out to the pieces of their souls that had become part of her. To her amazement, she felt a shift. Her hair, once heavy with the weight of her curls, began to lift, glowing with a soft, otherworldly light. Strands of hair, golden and dark, curly and straight, began to unravel from her head, floating through the air like whips of smoke. They drifted back to the woman they had come from, settling gently on their heads. One by one, the women's hair returned to them, more vibrant and beautiful than before. Amara stood in awe, watching as the villagers embraced one another. Their hair restored, their spirits lifted. For the first time in her life, Amara felt at peace. She had learned to control her power, to give back what she had taken, and in doing so, she had found her place in the world. Though her origin remained a mystery, and her journey was far from over, Amara knew now that her gift was not a curse. It was a lesson in balance, in taking and giving, in understanding the true nature of beauty and strength. And as she walked away from the village, her hair flowing behind her like a streaming river, she smiled, knowing that she would never walk alone again.